as a PG podcast, but then Devin just kept on dropping shits and fucks, and
I'm just trying to figure out what's in her mouth.
I just want to see him interview Francesco Kahkonen.
No, he's a good human being, is what he would say about himself, I'm sure.
Who's hosting this thing?
Take charge, Kevin, would you? Jesus.
First time we ever met those guys. That was the major drunken pub argument.
I think you guys are the worst.
I'm going to have to probably watch some Canucks hockey, unfortunately.
Just making friends left, right, and center, and probably some enemies as well.
Tell him to shut up. He needs to hear that every once in a while.
Off to a good start.
All right. We are live.
It's okay to talk when it goes live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. We are live on a Tuesday. Follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. Facebook.com where we're live on the Hockey Podcast. YouTube.com live on the Hockey Podcast where we are currently at the Michael Ryder. We have passed Bobrovsky and moved on to Michael Ryder of subscribers. You can also subscribe to wherever you get your podcast. The audio will be up shortly after that. I am, first of all, just very impressed with you that your mics were not on and there was nothing hot mic said during the intro. So I would like to, first of all, thank you. I think that your lessons today will be given to officials of the National Hockey League. Right, Devin?
That's right. No, you really can't say shits or fucks like Chris kind of says that I say a lot, which I don't fucking get. But he can,
you fucking do.
Within 30 seconds, there have been more swears than there were the entire over the entire podcast on Sunday. Just so you know.
Yeah, and I wasn't a part of that.
Unfucking believable.
Unfucking believable. Sorry, Tyler's dad. So, if you're a ref and you're starting to swear, and a hot mic is on you, I don't know. That's a little crying shame there, but that's all right.
Chris, how are you doing?
Fairly well. I'm exhausted because I just worked an 11-hour shift at work, but that's what the cerveza is for.
There we go. See, and some mocked you for that, and I did not. And Sean, hello. There we go.
I am also enjoying a nice beer. We've got our friend Isha is joining us.
I was just about to get him in. I was about to get him in myself. Thank you.
What's up, boys?
What's up? And your mic, I'm also proud of you that your hot mic did not go on and we did not hear that you wanted to give someone a penalty for a penalty. Did you hear? Maybe we should share the story here. During the Nashville Predators Detroit Red Wings game, if someone has the tweet,
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, Tim Peel and Kelly Sutherland are the referees for the game, and during the hot mic caught something that they probably were not.
Oh, I saw that. What a league, boys! What a league! Curtis Gabriel gets fined for lurking, and the refs call a penalty just because they feel like it. What a league!
Yes.
Yeah, here we go. Let's make sure. Hopefully, I got it.
Can't hear it.
Can't hear it? Okay, let me fix that. My apologies.
Pulling the Ron McLean of the...
Yeah, pretty much.
So before Sean gets into this, I just want to point out the beer that I have here. It is the Death Wave, and Chris and I are both drinking the same beer.
Nice.
Did you plan that?
No.
He happened to pull out his can, and I was like, wait, I have that too.
A Calgary brewery, I'm guessing?
Edmonton.
Out of Edmonton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Sea Change Brewing.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
It wasn't much, but I wanted to get a fucking penalty against Nashville early in the...
Yeah.
That's so bad.
Jeez.
I didn't realize it was that clear. Like I saw the tweet and I was like, okay, it was like faint and some crazy hockey fan, found it, posted on Twitter, and so it begins. I didn't realize it was that clear. Holy crap.
It was a legit hot mic moment.
Yeah, that was something.
Which, by the way, guys, I came prepared.
Look
Full
at
of beer. Let's go.
Let's
Brown
go.
bagging it. There we go.
Yeah.
So,
what's you got in there? That's my question.
I got a lot, actually. So my old roommate he still works for Cascadia. All those in BC, you'll know what that is. And basically, he's one of the managers. So if any can gets dented upon delivery, he takes it home, and I just salvage whatever he doesn't want. So I got a nice Saison here by Driftwood. I got, what the heck? I think this is a local one. The Brainstorm, a play on Rick and Morty. This one's a Wit Pilsner, which actually I might crack that because I've never had anything like that before. Another Driftwood Blackstone Porter. It's gonna go on for a little bit. Sorry, listeners. Another Brainstorm. This one is a Vanilla Stout, which I've been on the stout train this winter. I know it's officially spring now, but that one looks good to cap it off. And I got one more here. What the heck? Humans, an IPA for the people. Seems a little too sappy for the hockey podcast. I'm gonna go with the Wit Pilsner here, boys.
Nice.
That's fair.
That's awesome. I mean, it as far as the stouts go, you're still wearing a toque, so to me, that's still a bit of winter in there.
Oh man, I love how you say toque because I do a Minnesota Wild podcast, and no one in the States knows what a toque is. They call it a beanie. Now, I don't know about you, but when I hear beanie, I think those stupid propeller hats from the Wizard of Oz. So I always make fun of all the Americans for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
They either call it that or a toboggan, which is a sled.
What? That's a sled. To get it together, Americans. Holy shit.
Well, as long as you're educating on the state side there for us, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for repping. Do we
All right, but before we go, I'll share my beer. I've got the.
All right, I'll just shut up now.
The Rollaway Baltic Porter from OT Brewing.
Is that an avocado?
No, that was
a West Coast thing to say.
And then it's a kayak. Also very West Coast. But yeah, it's Baltic Porter from OT Brewing. I actually helped can this beer.
Sick.
Yeah, the head brewer at OT is a good friend of us and the podcast. Ryan has been played hockey with Ryan growing up, and now I help him can every once in a while. So I was able to snag some of this, and it's really nice. It's a nice and it's got the nice roasty flavors that you like in a porter, and with some nice subtle sweetness.
Well, cheers,
cheers. I'm still going straight edge because I'm just going to wait till the end of the pandemic. It's going to end soon, right? Like 2037, probably, right?
No.
2022, boys. Let's go. I'm a
Let's
positive
go.
thinker. I'm a positive thinker about that. Not so much about the Canucks, but whatever.
All right, we'll go Canucks. We're here to talk about the West, so we got to talk about the Wild and how the West is, and then we'll get into the Flames. So we'll start with the Canucks. 2 losses in a row. Last night wasn't pretty, and now the help wanted sign is out for centers as Pete Pettersson's out. Horvat is, we don't know. Sutter's not. Sutter's out. Beagle's out. Was last night the death knell, Chris?
I'm not sure if I would call it the death knell, but definitely is not making you think happy thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the loss was as much of an issue as more of the Bo Horvat issue. Watching him skate off or barely skate off the ice, indeed help from a couple Jets players to get to the bench and not return. I think that's the more pushing towards the nail in the coffin than anything else right now, because they do not have any of the 4 centers that started the season in the line. Like, they didn't have any of them playing at the end of the game there. We don't know what Sutter or Horvat look like going forwards. Pettersson's out till past their week-long break. And we don't know what about Beagle, and let alone they're in that hole. So I think it was just the combination of the loss and the loss of Bo Horvat put me right on this season's pretty much toast.
And the fact that he started off as day-to-day, and so did Petey, and we're, a month in, or going to be a month in if Petey comes back after our week-long of being off. So, yeah, not looking good.
No, you said it. And what concerns me is there's 3 players on the Canucks who have double-digit in goals, one of them being Bo Horvat with 14. And if he's gone, we're just going to have more, grinding style games like the one we saw against Winnipeg. And we have no one to put the puck in the back of the net when they do have the offensive zone and chances. So, last night was a bad game. Winnipeg didn't play that good either. It was just a boring-ass game. The Canucks tried to check for 2 periods and did fine, but they have no one who could close. Besser can't do it himself. When Horvat, left the ice, props on Jimmy Vesey. You tried, bud, but that's not the answer to the offense here. And I think, if Horvat's gone long-term, the Canucks have to realize it's not going to happen. Sure, the Flames may have been serving them a playoff spot on a platter right now, but they're just not deep enough to accept that gift.
You mean Boyd's not going to save us?
Who? Have you guys seen the Snoop Dogg gif? Who?
Do the Leafs have any more forwards that we can claim off waivers?
We've got a bunch. Got to send them through waivers. Might as well just trade you for a bag of pucks to Vancouver instead of going through waivers. At least to get something out of it.
There you go.
Don't tempt Jim Benning because he'll pay for it.
2 bags of pucks.
2 bags of pucks. We'll do it.
Draft pick.
Poor Benning.
First rounder?
First round. Yeah, right. Devin, what say you? Are they where you're sitting? Are they done?
Yeah, I think so. I think both the Flames and Canucks are done. Canucks are 5 games back of Montreal, who sits in 4th place and 2 points back. It doesn't look good, especially with your 2 out of your top 6. I know, Brandon Sutter is out, yes, but in my mind, he's not really a top 6 player. But two of your most important players are out in injury, and it just doesn't look good, not at all. And I just have a bad feeling for anybody who is in Southern Alberta and west of the Rockies.
Yeah. We'll talk about the team east of the Rockies momentarily there too, about their chances. And I think the other thing that actually ultimately hurts the Canucks too, and probably the Flames, is the fact that the Habs games are postponed, because those are some of those games in hand that possibly the Canadians could lose, and could that whole mist could get out of the way, whether or not they're there or not. I think that just elongates what both of the teams think that they can do at the trade deadline. And I don't think that helps. I think with Canuck, the Canuck fan base for the most part, Isha, sounds like they've been prepared for this really since February. So I think they're just getting more resigned to that fact. And so trade rumors started. James Cybulski, hockey insider James Cybulski, had a tweet today about a possible trade rumor for Virtanen to Florida for Nudavara. And then
take it. Send him out of here.
Sorry, who's that player?
Marcus Nudavara.
Who cares, man?
That's a name. Is there a hockey card of Marcus Nudavara? Yes. Go. We go. Let's go.
Is he a warm body?
Actually, he's more than a warm body.
As long as he stays out of the Roxy, I don't care who this guy is.
He's got some good wheels on him. He's actually a pretty good skater. It's a pretty good shot.
Left shot defenseman.
Yeah, I don't. It's not would be a good ad.
Similar cap hit, similar contract structure to what Virtanen has. So I think they both make, around 3.3, 3.4 next year and have about a 2.7 cap hit. So I don't know. With the addition of Boyd and VC, if they want to go and add some more depth on the blue line, I don't mind it. I think it's something that I think Nudavara's got some upside too. I think he's someone that you can bring in, and he can replace, say, Jordy Ben if you move him out. So I think I think it'd be a great deal if they could find a way to make it happen.
Sounds like a gamble to me.
Well, they need defense, the Canucks, right? Like next year, they could lose 3 of their defensemen. So if you can get a guy who's actually playing in the league right now versus having to bet on a prospect, I think you make that trade 100%.
Yeah. Isha, I'm just curious, since you cover Minnesota, how are the American teams sort of looking at the trade deadline? I mean, of course, we've been talking about this 2-week quarantine. We're not dealing in the North. It looks like it's hampering and handcuffing. Is that the same conversation that you're hearing down south? Or
not at all. Honestly, it's like everybody knows that it's there, so they understand that, okay, things are going to be a little bit harder. And maybe obviously harder to trade, with the North Division. But for the most part, American teams can bring a player in and he's playing the next night if he passes the COVID test sort of thing. So there's not really much concern down here trading, especially in division.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, because we're hearing that a lot as well. Which is, it's causing some questions. And I mean, one name, also Travis Hamonic, apparently team in the East is interested. I don't think he's interested in going East. So, I think it'll be interesting.
He doesn't have a no move, does he? Get him out of here too.
He does have a no move. He's got a no move. And I also, I don't like, even if Travis Hamonic had a no, let's say Travis Hamonic could move. I honestly don't think he would go to it. Like he's pretty adamant about it being very close to his family. He'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not going over there. Sorry. I think he would veto things anyway. So, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah. So. The options for the Canucks at the deadline are, well, we don't know what, like, Tanner Pearson looks like he's out till past the deadline. So I don't know if there's anyone who's going to be willing to take him. Brandon Sutter, we don't know what his health situation is like. He's got a modified no trade clause as well. Adler's not waiving, right?
No.
They're going to ask him. He's going to say, nope, I'm not.
No, I don't even think they're going to ask him. I think they just know. I think they're just going to, I don't know, probably not re-sign him and then, say like.
And then you got Jordy Bennett and Hamonic, and I'm just like, maybe if you get something for Ben, like, and then you have you bring up you play Sotner or you try and bring up anyone.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Trying to do it. So like, they got Yul Levy, right? Give Yul Levy some more.
Exactly. The one thing that's tough about this season too, and I think hampered the team a little bit, was the lack of they didn't have the ability to bring up players from Utica, right? Like Cole Lynn would have 100% got a look this year. Maybe there was a defenseman down there who's shining that they're like, hey, we can bring him up and see what he has. The Canadian teams are stuck with the taxi squad, and it is what it is, and it sucks that the Canucks aren't deep and these prospects aren't ready, and they can't test out some of these other guys that they have down on the farm.
Canucks, not to get Sean going, but he would be less pissed off about DiPietro not getting games.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, right? He's just sitting there practicing, which sucks to see.
So can I throw a name in the pile? I'm just going to throw this name in the pile. Would there be any interest in Braden Holtby?
No.
I don't think because he's a bad goalie. I think just because he's $5+ million, and it's like, yeah, not
4.3.
Right. In the COVID world this season, it's not going to happen.
I disagree. I think that there would be a market for him. It's just, I mean, it could be just one team that you're selling to, potentially, especially with how many goalies are going down. Peter Mrazek hasn't shown back up in Carolina.
That's true.
And oh God, I'm going to butcher this name. Nudavaric has been showing some spurts here. There it is. Thank you. Yep.
I knew you were
Completely
trying to
missed
go
that one. Yeah. And Reimer, he's James Reimer. We all know who he is and what he brings. So I feel like there are teams out there who are looking for a solid, not 1B, but a good option for a backup if another injury does happen. So
It's the cap,
would.
though. That's what's killing everybody right now, right? Because even Carolina, I just looked at, they only have 2.3 mil, and I don't know if they're sending cap back if the Canucks shed Holtby. That's the only thing. Like, sure, in a perfect world, and if the cap went up like a couple mil this season, I could see that happening. I just think people are going to ride with whoever, and if they can't make it work, then again, it's an interesting season.
Hell, it's Jim Benning. I mean, God, I feel like he could fleece them pretty damn easy. Like,
what? Dude, Benning gets fleeced. He ain't the fleecer. He ain't the fleecer. He's the fleecey.
And the other issue with Holtby is his salary for next year too. He's a 4.3 cap hit, but his salary for next year is 5.7 mil. Like that, I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it being an option this year. Maybe in the offseason if Seattle doesn't take him off their hands, that someone will take him. But right now, with very limited revenue coming in, I don't think I see teams taking on Holtby at this point.
I don't know. I'm kind of 60-40 with Devin here because I think the Canucks have a very interesting situation if Braden Holtby doesn't get claimed by the Kraken. And I think that's a legitimate possibility of that happening. But I also think that, like, you look at Toronto as an example, I think that they at least have to be looking for a goaltender. At the very least, I'm not saying one way or the other, but they have to be looking at their options for a goaltender, as an example. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see. We'll see on that as too. But
Toronto, who has $580,000 in cap space.
I'm telling you, it's the cap, guys. It's too much for goaltending.
That's fair. What about Buffalo? Buffalo's looking for something.
Oh, poor Holtby, man. Don't do that to the guy. Have a heart. Oh, man.
Or Detroit.
Detroit, that's interesting. I got a buddy who comes on the Sota Pod every Wednesday. He's a Minnesota native, but he is a Buffalo fan. And we just, the poor guy, he takes the shots good. We'll say that. He's a good sport, but we just ripped on him last week. Even our guest, who's a writer, popular writer and media guy in Minnesota, he was on the podcast and he was like, "Wait, you're a Buffalo fan?" And he was like laughing his seat. He's like, "I'm so sorry. Oh my God."
Well, I feel for Buffalo fans, man. They're so good. They're so loyal, and they just want to see some sort of success. In the past, 15, 20 years?
Eichel, Reinhart, Skinner, Hall, like Ristolainen. Like, what are you doing?
Yep. It's the owners. It's kind of like it's kind of, I don't know. From my perspective, a bit of a similar situation to Vancouver, just with the owners having too many hands in the pot there, too many cooks in the kitchen.
I don't think the Pagulas have enough. I think they just sit back. They're like, "Oh yeah, we don't need this staff. We'll just cut them here." It's promotion here.
It's a bit of a mixed bag in that aspect. Yeah, it's like they're meddling too much in terms of cutting costs, but they don't give a shit. Yeah. Like they just don't care.
So they're the American Ottawa.
There you go.
I was going to actually say they're the American Bell, but anyway, that's a whole other.
Don't get me started. I only have like a few more minutes, so don't get me started on Bell.
I'm sure you heard. Anyway,
you guys follow me on Twitter. You fucking know.
Yeah, exactly. Let's hit the West. Let's hit the Minnesota Wild with the team with the fantastic jerseys. Tell them down there while you're educating them to keep those damn jerseys forever.
You'd be surprised the split, right? Like the old timers who grew up with the North Stars, they love it. But a lot of the millennials, they're like, that wasn't my team, so I could care less what color it is. If anything, they just want a whole rebrand because they're sick of the man bear pig, but that's a whole other story. I personally love it. I have one. They're sold out everywhere right now. That I actually did a contest, and the poor guy's waiting for one because that was the prize. And I'm like, man, they're sold out everywhere. Like, there's nothing I can do. Been on back order for 3 months. So, hey, it did well. It did well, much unlike the Canucks one.
Fair. In terms of the team, the Minnesota Wild, how are you feeling? How are they feeling about the actual team?
They're loving it this season. I think that they expected to still be competitive. I didn't think that anybody else but myself, who actually predicted that they would get third in the division, because screw St. Louis, they can have 4 just miss the playoff entirely. They got their cup. No one thought that they'd be this good and at least, I don't know, put up a good fight against the top teams. Now, I know Colorado schooled them back-to-back the other night, but they've looked good against Vegas. They've crushed the Arizona Coyotes, and they've been feeding off those easy California points, which is what they needed to do to succeed in this division. And Kirill Kaprizov is everything that they thought they were getting in him and more. I mean, personally, I didn't think he was as good of a skater as he is. I personally didn't think he was as good of a setup guy as he is. But the guy's the whole package. And again, I had Judd Zolgad on the Sota Pod 2 episodes back. Really well-respected guy and media guy in a little meta going on here.
Yeah, here. Yeah.
Really well-respected writer and longtime Wild and North Stars guy in the state of hockey. And he almost cried on our live stream. He was like, I can't explain to you how long it's been since the Minnesota Wild have had a legit budding superstar. And this guy's, old-timer, knows his stuff in the hockey world. And it was just crazy to see that reaction from a guy who's a true diehard, Minnesota hockey fan, and he's ripping it up, leading the team points right now. And if the Minnesota Wild were a little bit more complete, if they had that top center, if their top center wasn't freaking Victor Rask, and they actually had someone to help Fiala out, I think that they would actually be more of a headache in the league. But the goaltending's great right now, and they have the two leading Calder candidates in Kahkonen and Kirill Kaprizov. So I think the Wild fans overall, long or the short of it, are happy with the season.
That has been an organization that has been that's similar to Buffalo in terms of a very passionate fan base, but a team
they're basically Canadian. Like, they're more Canadian than I'd say like half of Ontario.
That's a shot. There's a shot.
I'm not even kidding. Like, they're more wet. They're like almost like a hybrid of like West Coast and I don't know, like Northern Alberta.
Fair.
So, Isha, you're saying that Ryan Hartman isn't the right center for Kevin Fiala?
I love Ryan Hartman. He does a hell of a job playing his role in the fourth line. And the guy was drafted pretty high, so he obviously has skill because we've seen him been able to finish when needed. But they have Victor Rask and and Hartman as their top centers. I mean, Eriksson Ek is unbelievable, and we've seen him have more offense than I think. I personally thought he had in his bag. But the guy is, at the end of the day, a second line shutdown guy first and foremost, who again had the skill to be a first rounder, so can provide offense. But like, unlike Fiala, who can do everything, unlike Kaprizov, these guys need another center who truly is going to help drive play, and they're hoping to get that in Marco Rossi.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the stats off of Natural Stat Trick, and Eriksson Ek's got the best expected goals for percentage. And I think he's third on the actual expected goals for that stat as well. Although the first two are Ryan Suter and Matt Dumba. So,
well, he's in the right place at the right time. He knows how to get under players' skin. He's so strong, so he can win in position battles. He can play that kind of Burrows role where he can go in deep and battle in the boards. Like, he can do all those things that you need for I guess as a center, but more of a shutdown center than a guy who's going to just drive play. Like, if Fiala was a natural center, it would be unbelievable because the way he plays is so explosive. But he's not. He's a winger at the end of the day in the National Hockey League. And, Kaprizov's that same thing. Like, he can do all those things. And shit, if you put Kaprizov at center, you probably could get it done. But they really need someone who's like, that's their bread and butter. And someone who's really going to be like, hell yeah, I either got Fiala on one side or Kaprizov on the other. That's amazing. And I think if the Wild are going to make any move, which they actually have to with Dumba, they're not going to protect him in the expansion draft due to their, no move clauses on the back end with Brodin, Suter, and Spurgeon, they're going to have to move him for a center. Like, it's just that's the plan. If not at the trade deadline where they're getting a push, it's going to be, right before the expansion draft.
Just a little bit on Eriksson Ek. I've heard little rumblings here and there that he could be up for the Selke, secretly enough, just because of his defensive play and his offensive output too. Yeah,
there was conversations about that last year too, to be honest. Obviously he was, out. I think it was like he was in the top 10 or something like that. And he was some athletic writers top 5, and they were just like, look, he's not going to win it, but it's worth noting because that's his underlying stats pretty much write that story for him. And this year, because of his offensive output too, and just the amount of minutes that he's playing, I think there's an argument to be made there. I think there's better players who probably deserve it more, to be, in my personal opinion. But if he wins it, I could totally see it, and I'd get behind the Wild fandom and cheer for him there.
Fair. Who on the Wild is, other than the obvious names here, who in the Wild is kind of flying under the radar?
Oh man, the Lizard Man is back after a rough season, getting used to the cold, or I guess I shouldn't say cold because he was in New York, but getting used to the state of hockey, battling some injury. Matt Zuccarello, 19 games, 20 points, 5 goals. He's Kirill Kaprizov's setup man right now because they don't have a center. Kaprizov's playing the left side, Zuccarello the right side. He's playing unbelievable this year. And my co-host, The State of Hoppy, and I always say, love the player, hate the contract. Well, we're not uttering that quite as much this year since his return. Jordan Greenway's had an unbelievable season as well. Someone who actually Billy Guerin in the offseason, told him, like, kind of laid down the hammer and was like, look, I traded your friends. I'm going to trade you next. You better step up next season. Like, we have no problem with cutting ties with you if you don't play hard and don't take any nights off. And he's really delivered. He's come out there, the shining power forward that everyone in Canuckland thought Jake Virtanen would be. So those two guys, and honestly, boys, he doesn't get enough love, but Brodin. Jonas Brodin, last year he put up a ton of points, and everyone's like, it's kind of the anomaly because it's one of the best skaters and one of the best two-way defensemen in the game. He's continuing to also add points. Now I know he gets a couple empty nets here and there, but it's still great to see 5 goals, 9 assists for 14 points on the season thus far. One of the better, like I said, two-way defensemen in the league. And a lot of people rag on his contract, like, oh, he signed a 6-year deal. But he's 27 years old, and he's literally like entering the prime of his career because he's starting to put up points now. So it makes the blow of losing a Matt Dumba this season or in the offseason, a little less wary because we have that player on the back end.
Man, I was going to ask about Bill Guerin, but I just from where I'm sitting here on my chair, I know that there's a lot of really good defense there on the Wild for sure. But I think losing Matt Dumba, that would seem to be a pretty big loss, not only in the team, within the community too.
Community, 100%. On the team, man, you got Ryan Suter still, who's absolutely killing it. I mean, last year had a career year in points, and again, he's a defense-first guy. Spurgeon, I mean, he's going to age like fine wine. This guy is unbelievable. Brodin, and then they have another top 4 guy in Carson Soucy, who's very much capable, not to replace Dumba's offensive abilities, but definitely to be a sound defenseman who's an incredible skater as well. And they got Cale Addison coming up too, who had some NHL games. So they're fine on the back end. And if they're gonna get a top center, whether it's a first liner or a second line, like a 1B or an actual solidified second liner, whether they have to give up some sweeteners too in the Matt Dumba trade to get it. Like, that is the plan from Billy Guerin. There is no other option. That's why the Dumba Besser rumors will never happen. They don't need a winger. They need a center, and that's what they're going to leverage Dumba to get.
We don't want Dumba anymore anyways now.
No. The Canucks don't need any defense.
So let's let's have that fun. We had the conversation in the summer. Let's bring it back. Dumba for Monahan.
I mean, I like it. Hoppy hates it. I think that was the consensus on the podcast too. I like Monahan. I don't mind him, but
well, he needs to do what he does best and shoot the fucking puck, because right now he's not.
Yes, thank you. Everybody needs to shoot the fucking puck on Calgary, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Well, at the actual net, maybe. Let's get specific. They're shooting the puck. They're not hitting the net. Maybe they need to do that.
Dude, man. I've been force fed the Canada, the poutine division, as Hoppy likes to call it on the Sota Pod. And Calgary, yeah, I've actually noticed that. Like, even when they shoot low, it's like, where are they going? It's like a foot off to the right. And even those high dingers, like I've seen Gaudreau like miss a couple trying to go top shelf as well.
Yeah. Hitting the glass and going out. But before we get on to Calgary, I'm just curious on what your thoughts of Spurgeon getting the captaincy and how do you think that has really impacted the team?
I love it. And again, I talked to, because obviously being a West Coast guy, I just cover the Wild. I had to really talk to some people who were diehard fans who've been covering this team, who either cover the team for the media there or, who blog and whatnot. And a few guys in particular were saying, actually Judd Zolgad being one of them, and my boy Derek Feltza, they're saying like the old boys club actually ran the room even when Gaudreau was there. So Suter and Parise basically were the voices and everyone kind of had to bow down to them. They're both Minnesota guys and they're there for forever, whether 4 or 5 more years, 6 more years, I think. And that was kind of a poison once this team didn't reach the success that they wanted to. And now that Spurgeon's the captain and these guys have been kind of humbled a little bit, whether or not they like that role, they don't own the room anymore. Boudreau's not there. Evison and Spurgeon are the ones. And what I like about Spurgeon, he's more the silent captain. So when he speaks, everyone, they listen because they're like, oh my God, this guy who's, calm, cool, collected, kind of leads by example, much like the Sedins for the Vancouver listeners. If he speaks, then we better fucking listen because this guy, has something to say and is clearly like upset with the team's performance. And apparently that's translating well to the room as Marcus Foligno also has taken a step as being a leader. And that guy, they call him Moose. He's awesome. And again, a guy who's been on a pace to put up career point total if he comes back. He's been gone for a couple weeks with injury now. And actually was responsible for the COVID outbreak, but we love him anyways. I think his kid got it at elementary school or something. But he's been having an unbelievable season. I think it's Spurgeon and him. He's the loud one. Spurgeon's the quiet one. And they're the one who kind of run the room now. And with the decline of Parise in particular, he's been humbled and really has to focus on his game rather than to get what he wants and to create a room atmosphere. Suter's just there to, hunt deer in the summer and play hockey in the winter. So he's a pretty easy guy.
Fair. Oh, Sean, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah. Suter's playing 25, 30 minutes and he's still quite happy. So that's good.
He's going to age fine. The Parise contract sucks. The contract sucks for Suter too, but that one will be okay.
With Marco Rossi, like how is he doing? Because he had complications from getting COVID before even the NHL season started, and
so he's out the entire year. He's not playing any hockey, recovering and doing strength training this season. He's going to get a chance to crack either Iowa or the Minnesota Wild roster, and with the lack of center depth, I'm sure they're going to give him as much of an opportunity as he can get. I believe you'll probably get to Minnesota early in the summer, start working with the team to really prepare for camp. But yeah, it really sucked to see. And it's crazy that I don't think the story was talked enough about, but like there was a lot of controversy in the World Junior Championship as Austria covered up that like he full on had COVID during the second half of the tournament. So he was infecting everybody. And the coaches kind of kept it under the rug because this guy's like, fuck that. I'm here. I'm playing. I am, in respect to the Austrian team, the only one who's going to score a goal on this team against any other competition. And they actually, buried that, swept it under the rug. And it wasn't until after it actually came out that like, oh no, he full on, was fighting COVID during that tournament and actually had a really bad case of it. And, it's a case-by-case basis with people. But his body did not react well to fighting that virus and has had a very long recovery.
And I'm sure that, as much as you want to kind of pinpoint it on the coaching staff, that was probably his choice too, right?
Oh yeah, like it's the whole. I mean, I pinpoint on the IIHF. Like, there's no way they could have hid it from them unless it's that hack of a protocol. Like, I don't know. Like, I know Russia got away with doping the Olympics, but I watched Icarus. That was some crazy planning. I cannot imagine, Austria was digging holes with the KGB, to get clean COVID tests, right? If you haven't seen Icarus, by the way, one of the best documentaries out there.
Oh, it's insane.
It's funny. Every time I watch it too, I get back on my bike and I'm like, oh yeah, I want to ride up a mountain. Get halfway up a hill and I'm like, yeah, fuck this.
Feel you. To get to the West Division, we've got Minnesota sitting in third here. You've got Vegas, you've got Colorado, you've got St. Louis that I think everybody was higher on. And then you've got the California teams, which you're feasting on. And then you have Arizona, which is a tire fire in and of itself. Where are the Wild in this? Where would you rank them in the West?
Third.
Where they are?
I said it at the beginning of the season. Hoppy made fun of me, again, my co-host, because he said, St. Louis, it's between Minnesota and Arizona for fourth. And I think, that was a fair argument. But put it this way, I was a little lucky too that St. Louis had the injuries that they did. But I see St. Louis kind of just on the downward trend. Maybe not, a quick decline, but they won their cup. They're losing, the core that helped win them the cup. And they're not really filling in the prospect pool much because they, had to pick later in the draft. Minnesota, put it this way, they can beat Vegas. For some reason they can match up well against them. Colorado, too damn fast, too damn quick, too damn fast. That's the team that's gonna just kill Minnesota. And we saw with Arizona, they can beat Arizona. They pummeled them in their series, and they can feed off the California team. So the only team that there's still a question mark is St. Louis due to COVID protocols and just rescheduling. The Minnesota Wild have not played the St. Louis Blues much. I don't even think they played them at all. They got a game coming up. That's going to be the test to see, okay, through the later half of this season, towards the end of this season, how do they match up against the St. Louis Blues? If they can even go 500 with them, dude, they're going to get third place. And even if they get fourth, they can compete in the playoffs. Just knock on wood, Vegas gets first place and not Colorado.
Interesting.
They're just so deep defensively, right? That they actually execute what the Canucks tried to do against Winnipeg. They can do it all game and actually have some firepower that can carry them if needed, and from the back end as well.
So who do you have number one then? Is it Colorado or Vegas? Who's the odds-on favorite to get out of the West?
I think Vegas, but again, I think Colorado is just a better matchup to beat the Wild, just because of the just their speed in particular. Vegas is just too damn deep, and they got Mark Stone. And Mark Stone behind McDavid is the best player in the National Hockey League.
That's a hot take.
No, it's not.
No, man.
It's not
Mark
a hot
Stone
take. He's like a 70 to 80 point guy, right? He leads the league in takeaways. His underlying numbers are in the top categories of the league, and he's put it this way, he's the best player in the eyes of any coach. McDavid obviously is the most talented and everything, but every coach wants the two-way guy too. I mean, every coach, of course, wants McDavid, but you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop talking.
Now, I guess my question is, I guess it might be just even a comment, just that, Colorado's won 7 in a row, won 8 of their 8 in regulation of their past 10. They've lost 1 and they won 1, or they won 1 in OT, or lost 1 in OT. Sorry. I just feel like they are on a different level, and depending on what they do with the trade deadline, how do you think they'll fare going forward here?
Well, I mean, call it I just like Vegas more as a team. I don't know why. That's just my opinion. I think it's kind of a crapshoot. It's either or them taking the crown there. They are one of the most amazing teams I've seen in years. I'm no bias here. That 2011 Vancouver Canucks team, they were on that level where it was just they're excelling in every single category. And you kind of see that with the Colorado Avalanche. A lot of people, I think, who are casual hockey fans are like, no, they're just top heavy with that talent. No, they are so deep and this is what I said on the Sota Pod, their fourth line, who can shut down other top lines, also has scoring power because they're just so quick. The way that their team is built. a lot of teams in the NHL in this day and age are fast, straight line fast. These guys are so quick in their play making ability too. Less methodic like Vegas and just more like bang, bang, they're going to hit you. And that's what separates them from, I'd say, any team in the National Hockey League. I just think there's just something about Vegas where it's almost like a slow game of chess versus just like a bombardment of like, we're going to hit you with everything we got up the hop, and that kind of overwhelms team. And I've seen it like with the Minnesota Wild, who like they are one of the best defensive teams that I've had the pleasure to cover and watch. Every player is where they're supposed to be on the penalty kill or even 5-on-5, and Vegas and Colorado bang, bang scores on them. And it's just like there's nothing they could have done better to defend that. They're just that quick and that skilled.
That's completely fair. Just to let people know who's on that fourth line, you got Matt Calvert, you got Pierre, Edward, Belmar, and then you have JT Compher. And
barely knew her.
Exactly. And I like talk about depth on their third line. You got Nichushkin, you got Jost, and you got Donskoy.
Yeah,
Donskoy
like that's unreal, right?
Yeah, Donskoy, he's like him on the third line. He's a second liner pretty much on any other team just because how hard he works. So I just think that whoever faces them in, I guess it would be a bubble of coming out of the West. I think they're my front runner. I'm sorry, Vegas. I know that you guys are really, really close, but I feel like just the depth of Colorado will just come through during the playoffs, and so I have them coming out of the West for sure.
I think
Plus
right now,
line.
Yeah,
that blue line. You got Cale Makar, you got Sam Girard, and then Bowen Byram when he's in there too. Like they can throw three pairs with absolute top end puck moving ability, and that's what makes it so hard to defend and so easy for them to exploit any mistake that any of their opposing teams make.
Don't forget about Ryan Graves though. Ryan Graves, he's an underrated, solid defensive defenseman that blocks shots, that hits, and he's a rugged dude. So, like that defensive end, not let alone Philip Grubauer. He's a fantastic goalie.
My only counter argument is I'm one of those guys that believes that when you have been there, you know what to do when it's time to get there. And the Vegas Golden Knights they've been to the Western Conference Final, they've been to the Stanley Cup Final. They have found ways to win. They know how to win. And Marc-Andre Fleury has cups, and he's turned it around this year.
He has a cup.
Does he?
I know he has cups, but you know what I'm.
Yeah,
this guy.
Matt Murray has the other one.
Yeah, but Fleury was part of the team, for sure. But I just that they know how to win.
I mean, the counter to that, are they going to be the next San Jose Sharks who can, do really well until the big moment and just flounder a little bit? I mean, I understand where you're getting from, Kev, but until they – I know they've been there. Until they do it, they do it, right? Look at Ovi. Look at Yzerman back in the day. Until you do it, you actually do it.
Yeah.
That's such a cop out, and I hate saying that. But
no, man. Look at Michael. No, seriously. I just watched The Last Dance for like the fourth fucking time, and look at Michael Jordan. He didn't do it till the later parts of his career too, and then he won 6.
Yeah. So there. We got a question here. Let's maybe see what everyone's thought is. Is it possible the Rangers to get back into the playoffs? I'm a good fan already, but just want to hear that because they've been clubbing up recently. I think that's the best division in hockey. I don't think that's very close. I think that's one of the obvious arguments. I like where the Rangers are going, but I think they're probably a year away from getting back. Once wild card gets back and we're back to some sort of normal, I think the Rangers can get back in. But I think the way that that division is structured, I just don't see it. There's going to be a really damn good team going to miss the playoffs there.
Boston and Philly are floundering right now, and I don't see both of them continuing to flounder for the rest of the season. I think one of them's going to get back on and then figure it out.
Well, Tuukka Rask is out. He's out with an injury, so they're relying on Halak for Boston. Philadelphia, it's a similar story. Carter Hart has been struggling lately, and I mean Brian Elliott. If you're from Calgary or a Calgary fan, you know what Brian Elliott does.
How is he still playing?
Exactly. Like his goals against average is fucking terrible. It is so bad.
Look, I don't blame Philly. They got Michel Therrien back there. The guy's probably smoking up the locker room still. You guys hear that Terry Ryan story where he called him into his office when he was like a rookie in his rookie season? Literally called him in. All the boys were, listening through the door. Michel Therrien lights up a cigarette, smokes the entire thing, puts it out, and then says, "Get the fuck out of my office." And Terry was like, "Damn, dude, like looking back today on his podcast Tales with TR, he was like, I wish I would have just asked him for one like mid smoke, be like, well, shit, man, can I have one?" Like, so I blame Terry. He's the one screwing things up there for the Flyers. Crazy bastard.
That's fair. I love those random stories.
That's why you bring me on, right? To just derail the train.
Just get you a half a beer deep to a beer deep, and you start spewing it all out. It's fantastic.
4 more to go, boys. But I actually got to leave soon. I'm unfortunately not going to talk about the Flames, whom I haven't watched 3 games this season.
That's fair. Do you, just in terms of anyone else, kind of other league stories that you think should be getting more play that isn't? I know we've been a little microscopic in our focus of the North, and we're trying to change that. But what are some underappreciated stories from your perspective that are not getting as much play up here?
Like from down south, or just anything going on in the Canada division?
Yeah, either or.
Honestly, like my view is pretty narrow too. I'm like Minnesota Wild and or Canucks. One thing I will say is the BCHL schedule came out, so there is going to be some BCHL hockey. So shout out Victoria Grizzlies, shout out Nanaimo Clippers, rooting for my island teams, and I'm really excited to check that out. And I think all the games are going to be available on Hockey TV. These days, especially with the lack of being able to sell a lot of tickets at BCHL games, like the proceeds from the subscriptions to Hockey TV, they go a long way, especially with a lot of the local teams and those guys buying local sponsors to give out to some of these teams to help them out. So support the BCHL. Obviously, if you watch the Dub, you'll have like Dub Network or Sportsnet, but support the small time Junior A in BCHL, and you can also check out your local hockey through Hockey TV as well with Junior B, assuming that some of them are going to be going on the rest of the season too. So that is underappreciated. Got to shout out the best Junior A league in the world.
I also in WHL, I mean, just we talked about this a little bit on Saturday, but Connor Bedard, people got to watch Connor Bedard. That is going to be a story going forward. Granted, second WHL player to be granted exceptional status.
Wait, who is the first? I thought he was the first.
No, it was Matthew Z.
No. Who is it?
No, I think Bedard is the first WHL.
Is he the first? He was the first that was accepted, and then the other guy was applied and did not.
Yeah. So I have my last random stories, and I'll let you boys go, and I'll quit derailing the train. But Matthew Savoie, he applied, didn't get it. And in his first WHL game as a 16-year-old, like because they only can get, I think it was like 7 or 9 games in a season as a 16-year-old, he got, and I mean, I shouldn't laugh about this, but he got rocked, boys. WHL, like 20-year-old Czech, didn't keep his head up, Scott Stevens style, and it was just like, exceptional player. They would have saw that coming. So there you go.
Fair enough.
Before you go, Isha, I just want you to Capo Kahkonen. We didn't get a chance to really talk about him. I know you were quite high on him going into the bubble last summer.
Yeah.
And everyone's starting to see what he is now.
Yeah. So I mean, he ripped it up in Liga in 2017-18. He came to North America upon being drafted in the 4th round by the Wild. He played 2 years in Iowa. First year played really, really well as a backup and actually split time as the starter. Second year, got 5 games with the Wild, played outstanding, had a 91 save percentage. But also in his last year, I think he was the best goalie in the AHL. He had a 92.7 save percentage, a 2 goals against average. Basically, he proved everything that he could in 2 years in the AHL. And with Stalock actually being out due to a heart injury, heart condition, an upper body injury, as they labeled it. He wasn't able to start as the backup. They brought in Cam Talbot, to pretty much, okay, you can be the 1A or 1B, as we see what we have in Kahkonen. And Kahkonen just simply took the reins, and he's been outstanding this year. Is he a bona fide number one? I don't know. But much like what the Vancouver Canucks fans are seeing in Demko, trusting him more in every game to be kind of that long-term guy, that's the exact same feeling that everyone has here in Minnesota for Kahkonen. He's 24 years old. This will be, his rookie season as a goaltender.
Yeah. With the Calder, just before you go, we'll ask you about what's going on with the Hockey Podcast Network, the Pod Network there. Is it Kaprizov going to get and be unanimous, or is there what are you thinking there about the Calder?
I think it's Kahkonen or Kaprizov. So there's a little debate going on in the state of hockey, because everyone loves Dollar Bill Kirill. That's the nickname, by the way. I didn't make that up. There's already T-shirts. But this Kahkonen, look, if the Minnesota Wild continue to have a great season and land third in the division, I'd say it's almost more on Kahkonen's dominance than it is Kaprizov's, because someone was going to score. They were going to, they knew that this winger was going to come in and provide the offense. I don't know. I would probably give it to Kaprizov, just because maybe I'm biased towards the forward or the actual skater. But I think it's between those two guys for sure. Look, I love Tim Stützle, but it's just not going to happen. You ain't on a winning team.
No. I think it's to me it's one of the Minnesota guys for sure that's going to get it. But I'm just curious, and I know some people are thinking Kaprizov may get some heart votes. I have my thoughts on that. I think this year it should be unanimous, 100% unanimous. I think if it's not, it's ridiculous. I think
it's Mark Stone. We all agree.
Mark Stone. No,
I'm kidding, Devin.
I want to. I love Mark Stone. I think he's a fantastic player. I really do. But I really think that going in for the Krill should be in the thought process there for Minnesota Wild fans as well.
So the Sota Pod's working with a local brewery in Minnesota, a back channel brewery. And what's cool about them is all the names of their beers have something to do with Minnesota history. So they have like the Soviet Slayer, which is the Herb Brooks style beer. And one that we're hoping, it's in the works, so I can't promise anything, but it's a Vancouver podcast, so no one in Minnesota is going to hear this. We're working with them on making the Soviet Savior and going to do a Sota Pod back channel collaboration. Hopefully, again, knock on wood, in the works, where we have it all based around Kaprizov. So, there was the Soviet Slayer and Herb Brooks, for Team USA being the Miracle on Ice team. And now that they have their Soviet Savior in Kirill Kaprizov.
Cool. Well, Isha, tell us what's going on with you guys. Sota Pod, Hockey Pod Network. Plug your shit.
Plug my shit. All right. The Hockey Podcast.
Yeah.
The Hockey Podcast Network, growing all the time. A ton of great original content. Like I mentioned, we got Terry Ryan there on the network. He's producing great content every week. For those degenerates or casual sports gamblers out there, we have a daily sports book and daily fantasy show, The Ice Guys, who stream on YouTube and also release a daily podcast every day that there's hockey, which is every day in this season. They release a podcast, so they're unbelievable. Working with more NHL alumni. We have some branded series coming up where we're working, the Hockey Podcast Network exclusively working with DraftKings to create. So a lot of cool things there coming on the network side and the Sota Pod. We're continuing to have fun. 2 episodes a week. We live stream every Sunday and Wednesday at 5:30 Pacific. And the podcast comes out every Monday and Thursday. Every now and then we'll do like a post-game show or like an in-between period stream and podcast show. And a few bonus episodes, running down daily fantasy for our partners there at DraftKings. But, the Hockey Podcast Network continues to grow, which we love. And like I said, a lot of new shows, both on the NHL side and the original content side. And the Sota Pod, well, Hoppy and I, much like you guys, like to crack some beers and have fun and talk about this beautiful sport, which is hockey.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. I know you've had a busy day.
I'm still in my office.
And you're still in your office. You're like Chris Schneider and working 11 hours a day.
11's a good day, boys. Jeez.
There you go. I hear you. But we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Isha.
Cheers, Isha.
Love you, Isha.
Love Isha. It's got a great thing going on over there. It's nice.
That he does. That lots of great content coming from Isha and the Hockey Pod Network.
Yes, for sure. Just wanted to, before we continue to talk about the Flames, if I could just share this little tidbit. The NHL is, according to Ken Campbell, NHL Director of Hockey Operations Colin Campbell, would not comment on one of the referees appearing to admit to even up a call on Nashville-Detroit game tonight, but did acknowledge investigating the incident. We were joking about this, but this is, as I enter that full screen there, this is a serious incident that has to be looked at, and I would suspect there needs to be some pretty serious consequences to this.
Oh, definitely. You cannot have, even if there is, everyone knows that even up calls happen. Everyone knows that the rules change from first period to third period to based off of how the game's going and all that. But you can't have that being said by your refs, especially being caught on a hot mic and letting the fans in on the dirty secret, even if it is the worst kept secret in hockey.
Yeah, it's like wrestling's fake. Oh, what? No, what? Yeah, not fake, but scripted. What I mean.
I wouldn't be surprised if whoever said that is gone from the NHL, to be completely honest with you. I feel like there are enough refs within, reaching to become NHL ref that are will be able to compose themselves when they know that they're under this circumstance. And it's super unfortunate for the NHL, but that honestly, that's what I would do is, I feel for the guy, but at the same time, know what's happening here. Honestly, know what's going on here, and whether or not it was him. Obviously, he said it, but whoever the engineer was behind that too, man, I don't know. You got to be shaking your head a little bit.
Asleep at the wheel, definitely.
Yeah.
Just before we move on, I did find that Matthew Savoy hit. I'll share that. It's quite the hit. It's really man, it's something that Devin and I would absolutely love to dish out when we played, but it's not fun to watch. Sorry, it's starting in the middle of the clip, but here we go. Boom.
Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, it's like that was a 19-year-old hitting a 16-year-old, right? Just lighting him up. But yeah, not good.
Yeah, unfortunate. Well, the Calgary Flames, they played the bingo. They played the free play in the bingo card, and Daryl Sutter's back. Everything's all better, and lo and behold, and they're playing Devin. It's a fourth-string goaltender that's never won a game in the National Hockey League. And you tie the game, and you allow a guy that hasn't scored in 30 games to beat you.
That's pulling a Canucks right there.
It's definitely not good. It doesn't feel good being a Flames fan right now. That's for sure.
I mean, at least it wasn't a Zamboni driver.
All right.
Oh, that.
Let's keep it to the Flames here. All right.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know gloves are off, man. Jesus.
Clip of the year. Sorry. Yeah. Steve. Oh yeah. Aren't we? We passed the 1 year anniversary of that too. That's too bad.
Yeah, Steve. Did I see it? Steve Dangle did a bit with David Ayers. They went to Jeff Merrick's outdoor rink and hung out together. And Steve tried to score on him.
Oh,
Well,
he's not a great skater.
No,
or has any hands whatsoever.
Yeah. If you've ever seen Steve skate, it's He definitely didn't learn to skate as a kid.
No.
How can you be that big of a hockey fan and that horrible of a skater?
It's super true. I don't know. It doesn't make too much sense to me, but overall, it's really shitty feeling being a Flames fan right now. We're really trying to find the positives here. If you're looking at 16 wins within 60 wins, 7 losses within the next little bit here, it's not looking good. Not looking good at all. I mean, your possession numbers look really good under Daryl Sutter. Your power play doesn't look the best. Your offensive zone play isn't really getting any scoring chances. It's very perimeter. Sean Monahan, he's not shooting the puck, and that's what he's known for, is shooting the puck and getting it into the fucking net, but he's not doing that at all. It's just a lack of confidence on his end, and it seems like just a lack of confidence overall. I mean, you can buy into a system as much as you want, but if your confidence is low, then obviously you're not relying on your hockey sense. You're not relying on what got you here to the NHL, and it's very apparent right now. And it doesn't make sense when you let the worst team in your division, quote unquote, the worst team. I don't know if they actually are. Ottawa tries the hardest out of, I feel like, any team within the North Division. They have the work ethic. They have the systems down. It's just they're not that good of a team on paper, but they really, really try. And with Ottawa, like, you're letting Ottawa dictate the game. It's not really the best. It really isn't.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, Kev, but on Sunday I brought up the stats that up until last game, Sean Monahan, Johnny Gaudreau had not been on the ice for a 5-on-5 goal for under Daryl Sutter, and now he has, but that first lie, like him and Monahan under Daryl Sutter, the 7 games under Daryl Sutter have been on the ice for a 5-on-5 goal only once, and they are sub 50% in the shot share, the shot attempt share, the Corsi, the stats, and even their expected goal share is like right in the basement for the team. If this team is going anywhere, it doesn't matter how good that Lindholm Kachuk line can be. They need the Monahan Gaudreau line to start producing and start controlling play.
I'm going to stop you there. That's not the first line. That is the scoring line, and they're not scoring. Realistically.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have been trying to say this for over a year. It's nice when someone listens. It just feels good. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. And I've been listening to you for the past year, man, and I totally agree. It's that line is not producing. At what point are you willing or wanting to break up that Gaudreau Monahan pairing, because that's all that they have right now. That's all that let me rephrase that. That's all that Monahan and Gaudreau have known ever since they've been in the league, except for Monahan for 1 year. It's just they need to find some sort of other line combinations, but you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, which isn't really the best way to go about things, especially when other lines are doing decently enough. The best player 5-on-5 right now is, or I guess the top 2 players that are playing best 5-on-5 right now are Mangiapane and goddamn Milan Lucic. If those are your 2 best players, 5-on-5, you got to give your head a shake. You really do. Mangiapane, I love the guy. I think he has a lot of talent. I think he has a lot of drive. There's a lot of criticism with him. Why is he on the ice so much? As in falling down. But he's a smaller guy. Like, As long as you try, that's all I really care about. And right now, the Flames aren't trying, and the Ottawa Senators outplayed them, which is unacceptable. And if they're going to be successful within this division, within this league, that cannot happen. They need to make sure that they outwork and outplay every single game. I'm sorry, Daryl Sutter. I love you, man, and I think you are the right person for this job. But when you say that they played a pretty much perfect road game, I disagree wholeheartedly.
Well, I mean, they played Daryl Sutter hockey for that game, and they wanted to keep it low scoring, and that's what Daryl Sutter wants. The problem is they don't have the skill or the size to compete in the Daryl Sutter way. That's what is at issue here. I think that you can play that way, and it can work if you have the size and you have the assets and the players to do it. But right now, this team is not built that way, and that's a big problem.
It is, and when your top pairing defenseman, on paper, your top pairing defenseman, not the best pairing that has been playing, which has been Hanifin and Tanev. But when your Giordano and Anderson pairing isn't doing well against the worst team in the fucking division, that's where you need to switch shit up. And along the same lines as put every single line in a blender if you need to figure this out. And it's not about figuring this out today. It's not about figuring this out for this season. We know the season is it's not out of reach, but it is with the way that the Flames are playing and how much they need to do to attain that goal of making the playoffs. I don't think that they have it in them, but this is about moving forward and figuring out what you have within this team. There's always been talk within the past 3 years of, okay, Monahan, Gaudreau, who's going, what big moves are going to happen this year, and it hasn't happened yet, and I really hope it does. I've been listening to the morning show 960 for the past, I want to say 10 years, and Ryan Pinder, I trust him in what he says. I don't always agree with him, but he was saying that Monahan has been shopped within the past year and a half, and there just hasn't been a good enough return coming towards the Flames that Brad Treliving has been able to pull the trigger with. And I agree with him, is that if you haven't found the right fit and you don't think that you're getting enough value for that player, then yeah, absolutely, don't pull the trigger. But you got to think that I know this is probably premature saying that the Flames are done, but I just have no faith within them. So looking to the offseason is what I'm doing right now. I really hope that I'm proven wrong, but the effort isn't there. Sure, the systems that they're playing are being executed, but it's God, I hate saying this. Sean, you were right in saying that this has not been the team that has been able to get the wins, get the wins. Period. And it's unfortunate, but that's the truth.
I just want to quickly jump in. If this is either the trade deadline or the offseason that one of those two gets moved, Devin, in your opinion, not who is most likely, but who would you rather move?
It's a 50-50, honestly. Like I'm not going to pick a table, and I'm sorry, Sean, I'm not going to. But you have Johnny Gaudreau, who was born in the East. He lived very close to New Jersey and Philadelphia, so I feel like he probably wants to go home. That's where his dad is. That's where his dad had it wasn't a stroke, but I believe it was a heart attack within the past 2 years. So I feel like he probably wants to stay close to home if he can. But once again, he's proven to be a 90 to 100 point player, and getting rid of that kind of caliber and that talent is very hard, and you want to make sure that you get what is a fairly fair trade back from that. But ideally, I would want Monahan. And if Johnny Gaudreau is wanting and willing to stay with Calgary, I would say Monahan for sure. He is at best a second-line center. Right now, he's playing like a third-line center. He hasn't been able to – he just doesn't have the confidence right now. And I don't know why. There must be something going on within his head that he needs to figure out, because when he's not shooting the puck and that's not his first instinct and that's not what – once he gets the puck, that's not his first thought process, that there's a problem there. And it doesn't matter really whether or not he's in his, in his perfect area, right at the low slot to execute that. He still has a great wrist shot and he still has a great release. So he really needs to get out of his head and just start shooting the puck and start gaining that confidence back, because when he does that, he is a 25 to 30 goal scorer easily enough.
For me, the way that I would look at this is I don't think that you trade Monahan and Gaudreau by the trade deadline. I don't think that I think that this has to be an off-season move. And to me, I think now would be the time to try Lindholm with Gaudreau and Monahan with Tkachuk. And I think just switch that around and see what happens there. These are both off-season moves if you're going to do it. And quite honestly, I'm with Devin in that I'm not going to pick a table. I think that if you're going to trade them, I think you have to do both. I don't think it's one or the other. I think you have to do both. Unfortunately, and because I just partially wonder, you kind of look at what Isha said about Minnesota and changing the captaincy, and I'll have a question about that in a minute. But I wonder how much this Monahan Gaudreau being a tandem and what has been done has affected this room, because this isn't new. This has been going on for almost 2 years. Actually, this has been going on, if you want to get technical here, 3 different coaches. This has been Bill Peters. It was a Bill Peters issue in the second half of the 2018-19 season. There was 2019, 2020. This was an issue, and it's an issue this year. So this is going on for 2 years with both of them. This is not new. I think that if you're going to do this, you go all in, put the chips in, and do both.
Only 3 coaches, Kev. You're not including Glenn Gulutzon as in it. They had that issue with Glenn Gulutzon.
I think that their play has gone down since Gulutzon left. Because Monahan, you look at what Monahan has. He is the most goals scored out of everyone in his draft class. That does say something. He has been a consistent goal scorer over the years. It's the last couple of years have not been the Sean Monahan that we known and loved. And the last couple of years have not been the Johnny Gaudreau that the Flames have known and loved.
I think what you're getting at, Sean, is the fact that they could potentially run the room, and that the personalities that are within, I guess, Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau don't mesh well with what's happening there. But as far as the output goes, Glenn Gulutzon, he did find a way to produce some good point totals out of those 2. But overall, it obviously hasn't worked
out. Which leads me to my questions. So, I think I'm really surprised this hasn't been as much of a conversation in Calgary as it should be. In my mind, I'm 50. In my mind, I don't see how you're protecting Mark Giordano in the expansion draft. I just can't see it at this particular point. This is a guy that I do think deserves a cup. And this is a guy I think some teams may end up overpaying for. Would you consider trading Mark Giordano at the trade deadline?
100%. God, I've been on that train all year, and even into last year before the trade deadline. I was not a fan of him. I feel like he hasn't. The game is too fast for him, and he tries very, very hard. But this isn't the try hard league. This is the results league, and he's not giving the results that the Flames need him to get. And I feel he needs to change the scenery. And I don't know if he deserves a cup. He deserves some accolades for sure. But give him a chance to get a cup. Give him a chance to strive for that, and wherever that is, whether that's within the Canadian division, out to Toronto, while Calgary retains some salary or something along those lines. Once again, it's super hard to do that, to trade that big of a cap hit within this COVID era.
$6.75 million cap hit.
And especially for what he's doing for 6.75, God, it's not worth it. And it really depends on the direction that Calgary goes with the next year or two. And I just don't see it happening as much as I would like it to. It's a very hard contract to move, and it's a very hard player to move, especially with what he's done within the past year and a half.
Could I interject with a quick question, though? If Gio does get traded, is it a given that Tkachuk is the next captain? Or if not, who?
Right now, if I had a vote, to be honest with you, someone may laugh, but I might give it to number 8.
I'd say down the road, yeah. Okay, I could see Valimaki being not Valimaki, Tanev. I could see Tanev being a good kind of stopgap in between there to give a good identity to the team. But it's I don't know. I would see them running a few A's here so that somebody can earn it. And I'm sure that they would really hope that Tkachuk would step up and really show that his leadership and show that he deserves it. Because as of right now, he's not playing well. He's not one of those with the way he's playing, jump on my back, play how I'm playing. And as much as I really would like him to be the captain, with his antics, that his antics are what makes him a good player. It really does. As far as getting under the player's skin and having a captain that does that, it could be hard. I love the thought process, Kev. And if that's a stopgap for sure, and being like, okay, all right, for the next year or two, Chris Tanev, you're wearing the C, because you are someone that has a lot of class and who is still able to lead by example. You need someone who needs to lead by example. So it might be a bit of a hard sell, but I could see it.
I think it'd be a hard sell to that locker room. I don't know if that's maybe what they need, but I think that's a hard sell to have someone come in, not have been a captain before, not being an alternate captain right now, and then you're skipping over the players now to give him the captaincy. I think that'd be a very hard sell to that locker room, but maybe that's what they need.
I don't know. Do we want a captain that does this? I'm hoping a clip is being pulled up here. Jeeves!
I got it.
I was pulling a run again.
I should have maybe told Shauna that I was thinking that. But honestly, do we want captains? Do we want a guy wearing a C that does this? For those who don't know, this was last night. And yes, Rass is getting a ton of hits, but we're just going to show what goes on here. There's Rass. Flipping the puck away. And then look, Matthew, I'm sorry. I don't want a captain doing that. And I'm going to say something that is going to piss some people off. I don't think Matthew Tkachuk is captain material. I really don't. I think over the years, if you look at what he has done, his antics over the time, as entertaining as Flames fans think that it is, and it's how fun it is that he pisses off other fan bases on social media, it's not captain material. It's not. It's not what an NHL team needs as a captain. And
it's also why Marchand has never worn a C in Boston.
Yeah.
Also why Ryan Kessler was never considered a captain person for the captaincy in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Rats don't get to see.
I don't see that play as bad as I guess all three of you see it. Raz Anderson, the way that he conducted himself, yeah, okay. There's part of me that's like, oh yeah, that's sweet. That's pretty funny.
I'm with you there, Dev. I don't think it's as bad, but it's still not something you want your captain to be doing.
Hold on.
That being said, hold on.
Let me finish my fucking sentence here, for God's sake.
I was going to say Daniel Alfredsson.
Oh, God.
Okay, Devin, then Sean.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. I just don't I don't see it as that bad of a thing. I think that he was just like, okay, well, fuck it, here, have the puck. It wasn't like I think he was trying to do more of a good than a bad there for Tkachuk. But I do agree. I feel like he does need to realize what a captain needs to do on a day-to-day basis in the NHL. I agree with Chris in the sense that, yeah, he's very much a Marchand pest rat kind of figure, and it's super hard for that type of player to represent a team and represent a jersey. So right now I don't see anybody else really taking up the crown or taking up the C other than Chris Tanev. Like now that I'm thinking about it more. You have Sean Monahan as an A. He's not.
We're talking about training him though, right? So.
Well, no, but I'm saying alternate captains. Who are alternate captains right now? Sean Monahan. No, we're looking at. And
then there's Michael Backlund.
Michael Backlund. No, he's not a captain material. He is too inconsistent with his play. He is whenever he's on, he's phenomenal. He is a great player, but he has too many off games. And I feel like you need to command the leadership within the room, and you need to play by example. And right now he's not. Chris Tanev, he had that persona of dad in the locker room. And I mean, if you had a good dad, who'd you look up to? You looked up to your dad as growing up, right? So to me, that makes the most sense out of it. So, Kev, I think you're really onto something there, man. I really do.
All right. So
I have one more question. I have one more. Can I ask?
Well, no. I'm going to finish off on this. I have one more point to finish off on this.
But cut me off, please.
Is Daniel Alfredsson considered a good captain? Because he did this. For those who remember it. Shooting that puck at Niedermayer.
That's two different things. I don't think that I don't see that as the same thing as what Matthew did. What Rasmus and Matthew did was like that was at the end of the game, you played like shit and you're acting like a childish baby. I think that was in the Stanley Cup. That was a Stanley Cup final gamemanship within the game. I don't look at that as the two the same things at all.
Shooting the puck at Scott Niedermayer at the end of the
second period.
End of the second period when he's not even in the zone. Offensive zone is gamesmanship. Well, that isn't.
No, that it's about your tenure. It really is. You can have a one-off of emotional outburst, where you do something that you kind of regret at the end, just because it's in the heat of the moment. But realistically, Alfredsson's tenure comparison to Matthew Tkachuk is not really something you can really compare.
I agree with Deb on that one.
Yeah, Tkachuk has a series of these types of things. I mean, you'll have to dig pretty hard to find another Daniel Alfredsson incident.
Oh, I don't have to dig far. Chucking the stick into the stands.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that understandable.
Well, I just wanted to bring that up as an option.
That's two instances, though.
In an entire career.
An entire career. You gotta expect that NHL hockey players have passion, that they are sometimes can go overboard. So I don't put them in the same realm whatsoever. But I'm curious on what Kevin's question is.
Okay, so the other question that I have is the other guy with the A is Michael Backlund. He has a no movement clause. He's making, for those who care, he's making 5.3 for the next 4 years. That's a tail of a contract to trade. Do you ask him to waive it?
Yeah, absolutely. You ask anybody who's an untouchable, you ask them whether or not you want to. They are willing and able to waive those no trade or no move.
It's a no trade with Backlund, not a no move.
Well, I'm just saying in general, whether or not you're Michael Backlund or even potentially Rasmus Anderson right now. I'm not been really impressed with what his play has been. Besides these antics of last game, I don't know if it's just an off year, and you can have off years, and that's fine. It's just whether or not how he's conducting himself in the locker room and the dressing room that would be concerning to me. But overall, Michael Backlund, yeah, if you're willing to waive that, then yeah, waive it. And I guess I don't know how that'll look for Brad Treliving with ownership, but you got to look at all the options here to make your team better. And I feel like Brad Treliving isn't one of those GMs who is willing to try and save his job, but I feel like he is a outstanding. I see him as a gentleman within the hockey realm, and that he is not going to try and save his job, but he's going to try and make sure that he does the best thing for the organization. So I really do trust with what Brad Treliving does, whatever that means.
Who would get more? Who would you get more for, Backlund or Monahan?
Monahan.
Goal scoring is super hard in this league, and he's proven it that he can do it. 20 to 25 to 30 goals, like I said before. So yeah, Monahan.
Monahan is 26 years old, has 3 years left on his contract at 6.375, is, as we've said, the top goal scoring player in his draft year, which includes Nathan McKinnon. And while Michael Backlund is 32 years old, has 4 years left at 5.35 mil per season. You aren't getting anything from Michael Backlund that is comparable to what you're going to get for Sean Monahan.
Just to clarify, it's not scoring; it's goals. Just I know
I
it's
said goal
semantics.
scoring.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a playoff contending team could use a Michael Backlund.
He's fantastic. He when he's on and when he's playing well, he is such a quiet. He's such a quiet player, but he does all the things right. He plays against the top lines. He does a really good job against them, and he can produce when he wants to. Put him on the second power play unit, and he can do very, very well there. But it's whether or not the inconsistencies is where I draw the line with Michael Backlund, and they are similar players in that sense right now, with Monahan not being consistent within his point producing. So yeah, you would definitely get more from Monahan, but I definitely understand where Kev's coming from, and a team would be, for the right price, obviously, a team would love to have Michael Backlund on the team as a third or fourth line center.
Michael Backlund had 2 years or less on his contract, I think you could sell him like that. But with the 4 years left and him being 32 years old, I don't see any team taking that contract on. You have even if it's for a all-in year for a team to make the cup final.
Like Gio, if you find the right fit, they both could contribute to the said team, but with the current contract, current situation, it's just not feasible in my mind.
I've got one more name. I know we're going to say no, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Milan Lucic.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
I just want to jump on that. Milan Lucic, if you can find the right partner, sure. Okay. Yeah, why not? Like, honestly.
You've said it. He's been probably one of the most consistent forwards with the Flames this year. That's probably more of an indictment on the forwards of the Flames than it has been on Lucic.
Absolutely.
But
it's all about it's all about what you're getting back for him, really.
You wouldn't get much back.
You wouldn't at all. But you could get a 7th rounder that turns the Mangiapane back. I mean, like that's the reality of it. But you'd have to retain salary. He has 1 more year left. Or is it 1 more year or is it 2 more?
He's got 2 more years after this season.
Yeah.
2 more years. So you'd have to retain salary. You would have to.
And you have to protect him, by the way.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. Whether or not, but he could waive that if he really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So
they have to ask him, like they have to, because otherwise there's a chance you're losing someone on the younger side there to the Seattle Kraken. There's one player that you haven't mentioned, Kevin, that I think is someone who they could get a significant amount back as a pure rental, and that's Derek Ryan.
Once again, he has to retain salary. Like he's making
3.125.
Okay, so you'd have to retain salary on a 4th line center. And what is he has? This is last year, right?
Yeah, that he's a pure rental. Like his contract is up at the end of this season, which is why he's a lot more movable than Lucic and Backlund.
Yep.
Well, I understand that. I guess the reason I brought Gio and Backlund into the conversation is because they're part of the core. That if you're going to make that change and you are a believer that this core needs to change and that shakeup needs to happen, I think that they are 2 names you have to have a conversation about.
I would take anything, literally anything, for Giordano to be moved. I could take an 8th round pick and I'll be like, okay, sure, why not? Because he's just an anchor on that back end. He really is. Kevin spoke about it earlier about not being able to hit the net, and he is a big contributor to that. There's been a couple times actually within the past 5 games that I've noticed him, and it's like, oh, you passed the puck from the point. Look at you go. But the overall consensus is that he just shoots the puck, and it's just so wild. And even within last night when we were down by, or the Flames were down by 1, he shot the puck towards the net as there was no one in front, as it was a pass over from Rasmus Andersson, who made a great play, faking the pass down, making the Ottawa player commit, and then pass it over to Gio, and Gio does that. It just, I don't know, it's his decision-making that isn't really making me happy. And, you know, for all those GMs who are listening to me right now, because there's a lot, I'm sure, he's a great player. Please buy high on him, for the love of God.
Hey, Francisco Aquilini, I think, listens to our hockey podcast every once in a while. So, you know.
Don't give him ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you, Deb. I think the Flames would have to retain salary on Derek Ryan, but I still think they'd be able to get a decent return if they do so.
Yeah. Well, even now, it doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. Like, if you're retaining salary on 3.125, like, you're sure. We're retaining all of it for all I care. For the love of God, it like gets something back for him. You're already paying him, and you're already expecting to pay him. So, yeah, do it.
I think for the Flames, from a Flames follower, Flames fan perspective, I think the frustration with the Flames fan base is, and in comparison with the Canucks, at least they've tried the air quotes here tank, the quote unquote tank. The Flames have sat in this murky middle mediocrity for so long that it's just frustrating. Like, make a decision. If you're gonna roll the dice and compete, get a team that competes, or just blow it up and let's rebuild the core. Like, just make a decision.
I agree with you, Kev, but it's whether or not what are you getting back for Sean Monahan? What are you getting back for Johnny Gaudreau? Is it worth losing those type of players? Because, you know, yeah, Sean Monahan, he can score goals. Johnny Gaudreau, he can rack up the points, and they've proven to do both. But if another GM isn't willing to get back what you think is worth what that player is worth, then it's not worth it. Realistically, I'd be very curious on what kind of offers Brad Treliving got for Sean Monahan within the past year. that's something we don't know, and that's something we're speculating. But obviously, it hasn't been good enough to pull the trigger yet.
Well, I think that, and it's the type of offers too. I think then that's partially where Kevin's coming from. If you want to continue to try and compete, then you're looking for now assets. You're looking for someone to replace Sean Monahan, not fully, but you're looking for someone to come in and take his spot in the roster type deal. Well, if you decide, well, it's time to retool, rebuild, use whatever term that fits or whatever term they want to use, and they take futures, that changes it. And I don't think they've been looking for futures for Sean Monahan or Johnny Gaudreau up until this point. Otherwise, I think that the trade would have been made by now.
Absolutely. Look what you did in the offseason. You got Chris Tanev and you got Jacob Markstrom. So that is a win now type of move, just like they did with Travis Hamonic. And look at what the Islanders got for them. You got Noah Dobson, who's been off and on the first power play unit, and he's in his early 20s. So it's been a miscue of realizing what type of team you have here. It was 2 years ago that that they won the West, and they were able to prove to the hockey world that they were able to do it. But that might be the peak of it, and it looks and sounds like that's the peak of what this core can do. And they fucked it up with not winning against Colorado. Realistically, like, God, it was ever since then, I feel like Sean Monahan has not been Sean Monahan. He has not been as dynamic, as scary to the competitor or the opponent of the Flames. They've been able to figure him out, and he hasn't been able to solidify himself as a top line, if not a top two center within this league, especially within this past year. He's at best right now. Yeah, he's a top two, but realistically, he's a third line center.
I have to agree with that. Like, ever since that Colorado round, I don't think Calgary has really felt like a legitimate threat.
I will go back. People talk about the trades that sometimes the best trades that shouldn't have been, just the ones he shouldn't have made. Really wonder about not acquiring Mark Stone at that trade deadline.
Oh man, well that would have been Valimaki though, and
that turned out to be a guy that Vegas ended up signing for 5-6 years. One of the top players in the game,
and now he's a captain too. I completely understand, and I would have loved having that, but it's also the what ifs of, okay, well, yeah, Valimaki, he's 21 years old, having that young of a player that's making as many waves as he has within the Flames community. That's a hard pill to swallow, especially for how much of an impact would he have made within that Colorado series. I don't think much. You would have had, Kevin, you would have had one player that would have been amazing, and you would have had Mike Smith, who stood on his fucking head. Those are two players out of 17, 18 players that it could have been made a difference within that lineup, and they didn't. So long term, you could have Mark Stone, but I'd rather have Juuso Valimaki, to be completely honest with you, looking back at it.
I don't know. I don't.
It would have been Valimaki and what?
Would have been, I believe, what I remember hearing was Valimaki, Dubé, and a first. And that's a lot to give up with Dubé being kind of a Johnny Gaudreau light type of player, smaller player that is able to dance, that has a bit more size to him, that has a bit more grit to him. I just feel like those two together with their potential, and this potential, we don't know exactly what that is yet, but those two potential in comparison to Mark Stone being in his late 20s. I don't know. That's a hard, like I said, a hard pill to swallow for depending on whether or not you think that this team is or was willing to contend at that point in comparison to, okay, you could have a defender that could be 15 to 20 plus years in this league. God, I don't know.
I get your hesitancy, but ultimately I feel like could he have been enough to push that team over the edge, though? I honestly feel like if the Flames had pulled that trigger and got Mark Stone and had to give that up at the time, like, yeah, that's quite a bit to give up. But part of me wonders, like you said, it's the what if. But like, what if Mark Stone was able to basically make the Flames a legit contender that season?
It would have been a very low first round pick. I understood that you would have lost Dylan Dubé, and I get it. And I understood that you would have lost Juuso Välimäki. That's tough, but you would have had two legitimate lines that you would have been able to use at that particular point in time. You probably don't end up signing a James Neal for an overpriced contract. And you probably could get another defenseman to replace Välimäki at some particular point in time. And I'm not saying that Välimäki is not a great defenseman, but you probably could have went with a back. You could have had your Monahan, Gaudreau, Lindholm, Backlund, Tkachuk, and Mark Stone line, some sort of combination there. And that would have been really tough to beat Colorado. And that would have been a shot at a cup. It honestly would have been a shot at a cup.
Would it have been, though? Because the Monahan Gaudreau line wasn't producing at all in that series.
But you could have made some switches around. Like, I think Mark Stone could have added something. I don't know.
I don't know. It depends on the team last year. Do they not choke against Dallas? And I get where you're coming from, Deb, with Välimäki. I think there's something there with Välimäki, but Dylan Dubé is replaceable.
Oh, no.
Hold on. Hey, you're the one that tells me to shut up and let you finish.
Well, that's a fucking ridiculous take.
No, I want to hear it.
Dylan Dubé currently is a middle six forward, correct?
Well, he's on the top two lines. He's on. I would argue he's on the number one line.
He's not a middle 2-6 forward, man. He's
on the right side.
Yeah,
he is a second line player. Period. On any team.
I have to disagree with you on that one, Devin. But
it's fine to be wrong. It's fine. Okay.
Second line player, and he's putting up half a point per game.
How old is he?
Oh, I know he's still young.
Yep.
He still has some growth. But I just at this point, if you have two deep playoff runs with Mark Stone, with the potential, I think you take that. That's a decent gamble to make. I can understand why you're hesitant on that price. It's a steep price to pay, but I still think it's something that if that was the top offer and and you had that option, you have to think hard about that, because Mark Stone. Like, if Isha was on here right now, he'd be yelling at you for saying not to trade for the second best.
He's the second best player in the fucking league, dude. I agree. He's a great player. He's a fantastic player, but he's not the second best player.
He's top 10. League. He's top 10.
He's not the second best player in this league.
The other thing is who on this Flames team is a Selke level player.
Maybe it's not about Selke level players, man. It's about having maybe Lindholm. Maybe. But you want to have depth throughout the line. You don't want to fucking have a top two lines that are like fucking amazing and then it's shit underneath it. Look what's happening with Edmonton, man. You have two top players there too that are willing and able to put up points and do great things, but like
they're playing better than Calgary right now. As much as you want to take shots at them, they're the top three team in the.
Great. Well, let's see what they do in the playoffs. Let's see what happens here with when they have a 7-game series against a legit fucking good team.
I hear Graham yelling at you right now. I just hear it. I hear it. Graham,
I love you, man. I really do. I really don't know if that's what you're yelling at me for, but I love you, Greg.
All right.
And I love you,
Yes,
Isha,
move
too. I love you both. But
Okay,
overall,
moving on too, before we go too far.
Oh, what were you going to say, Devin? What were you going to
Jesus
let him?
Christ, man.
Let him. Let him finish.
I'm defending Dubé right now, and you're just like, okay, moving on. You're like, shut up. God, Dubé having a top three defenseman within this league.
Is Valimaki actually a top 3 defenseman?
Shut up. Having a top 3 defenseman in this league that has potential to be that as good as he is, and having a top 6 to 9 forward, I would rather have depth within my lineup than one fucking good player, period. And let alone giving up a first overall pick that could be a potential game changer within that core, the core that's growing up within this of Ad Anderson, of Hannafin, of Valimaki, of Mangiapane, of Kachuk. Lindholm, he's a bit older, but he's a part of this core going forward. I think that he is untouchable. I feel like Dubé is a part of that as well. Those type of players are the players you fucking need, that are supporting players within this lineup that you should have. And giving up one fucking player for all of that does not make any sense to me.
But if you
One
have a
thing I want to interject with, though, it's not a perfect parallel, but it is a parallel. So your thing about Mark Stone, like, we had to give up a first-round pick for JT Miller, and that's worked out fairly well for the Canucks. So, like, if we're talking about Mark Stone instead of JT Miller, like, is that something that could have potentially worked for the Flames?
Absolutely. JT Miller is 28 years old. He was 27 when he got traded. A Mark Stone, his age is, I guess, 28. I stand corrected. No, but I mean,
Chris wins an
honestly,
argument by using Devin's own words.
that's completely fair. That is completely fair. But it's whether or not you think that you're within the realm of winning right now, or you see the core coming up within the system to make that difference later on, and that if it works out now, great. But if it doesn't, you're not fucking up your prospects here. And who does anybody know who that number 1 pick was going back to?
That was the Jacob Pelche draft.
Yeah, Tampa Bay. Who did they pick? How well is he?
Oh,
doing?
Tampa.
Yeah.
Who did they pick?
That was last year, though. That was last year.
I know. I understand that. But once again, it's about the long term. Like you look back at this potential trade that could have happened, and you can break it down. It's once again going to the drafts and being like, okay, well, we picked Trevor Kidd. Okay, Martin Brodeur, he got picked next. How well did he do?
Mason McDonald, Thatcher Demko, right?
Kucherov, he was late first round pick. How well has he done? Like it's all those what ifs that could have happened, and I'm more so going towards the not for sure thing, but the more for sure thing than having a Mark Stone, and then having once again I'm all about depth. I really am, in comparison to having one good fucking player.
Okay. I respect your opinion. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, that's I definitely think this is a poll question. I absolutely would. I think that this is a poll question because I also disagree with you, Devin. I would have done the trade.
I think Devin's on his own on this one.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's not the first time. It's not the last. I will. You know what? I'm not going to die on this hill, but I'll. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and that's totally fine. But I mean, there's no real way to kind of say that I would be wrong within this instance because you can see down the road that Yusuf Al-Maki will be a captain within this league, and that's kind of what he has in his bloodlines and what he's shown within this hockey career that he's created with him through the WHL to the NHL, and to me that speaks volumes. So all three of you can go fuck yourselves.
All right. On that note, we'll change. We'll quickly wrap. We've got.
I've got one more option for the Flames to sell.
Okay.
And this would be one for Devin, because you brought this up. The Leafs need a goalie.
Yeah, I was going to bring him up too. David
Rittich, is that an option for the Leafs to go forwards? Because Kevin, you were talking about Braden Holtby, but that's over $4 million in cap hit. While David Rittich is 2.75 in cap hit and has, I would say, outperformed Braden Holtby this year. Devin, do you want Big Save Dave in the blue and white, or the white and green?
Yeah, what color are their jerseys?
So Toronto is what you're saying.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind seeing it. I feel like who knows whether or not. So right now, Freddie Anderson is day to day with lower body injury. Jack Campbell has played 4 games within this year. He has 2 shutouts, and he's played fucking amazing. He's played really, really well. So there's a lot of Leafs fans that are clamoring for Jack Campbell to take over the starter's net from Freddie Anderson. Anybody within the Calgary range has heard Eric Francis talk about whether or not Freddie Anderson will be back within the white and blue of Toronto colors next year, and he says absolutely no. But I mean, we all know who he is as a analyst and who he is as a columnist, and what he brings. So those absolutes aren't really absolutes. So temper your expectations within that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you do see that, because Riddick does have such a low cap hit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Riddick move within the North Division or within the NHL.
Is Campbell on a Demko type level though? Like I know he's had 2 shutouts in his brief time with the Leafs, but can he pull it off consistently?
That's the question. That's the question. Who knows, right? But as far as a sample size goes, and I feel like Tyler would be right on the same page with you guys. Easy. Let's temper the expectations here, fellas. Come on. That's my Tyler impression. You can't really, hang your hat within what he's done with the Leafs overall within this year, within the past year and a bit. Yeah, he's done pretty well. So I know that there are clamoring for that for sure. So the double-edged sword of Freddie Anderson, whether or not he is able to get what needs to get done within the playoffs. He's been holding the coat horns for a little bit, along with Jake Gardner, within the past 3 years of Toronto playoff appearances. But yeah, it's definitely something that I feel like you really do need to explore, especially if Freddie Anderson is injured, and if Jack Campbell can take up the reins and run with it a little bit.
I know Devin needed to leave for a second, so here's my take on it. I would, if I'm the Leafs, I give Campbell this run now, and see where he's at at this particular point. You're not necessarily in a rush, and if you need a goalie, I think you need to put your chips all in and go after a bigger fish than David Riddick. And if you believe it's Jack Campbell, great. But I would see if you can get David Riddick in the offseason as a UFA, and not try to give up that asset for him. If I'm the Leafs, that's from that perspective. From a Flames perspective, that's a good idea. But I think for a playoff run, I would be concerned in giving up an asset on a guy that has not been proven to be a playoff goaltender anyway, and I just wouldn't make that risk. The name that I have heard linked with the Leafs, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen, is Jonathan Quick, and that's the problem. There is, of course, injury prone, and
that 2-week quarantine, and whether or not he can ramp up for the playoffs with that 2-week quarantine.
Yeah.
just my brain's making connections here. That's Campbell also came from the Kings, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah. So I mean, if I'm the Leafs, if I'm the Leafs and I'm looking for a goalie, it's not David Riddick. That would be what I'm saying. Now, should the Flames look at the option of moving Riddick? Yes, but I don't know if the Leafs are the answer there.
Fair.
Yeah, I just again I look at what the Leafs have to work with cap wise. I don't know if they have the cap room to be able to go after a big fish. So maybe spending a little bit less and rolling the dice on someone like Big Save Dave could look good on them, or it could just be another Leafs playoff performance. So
it's fascinating because I mean there is pressure certainly with this playoff in this North. The pressure is going to be on the Oilers and the Leafs to get to that Final Four over everyone else.
Yeah.
Like the Jets won't have that pressure. The Habs, if they make the playoffs, and won't have that pressure. This is the Oilers and the Leafs. They got to do something, and the Oilers are Oilers are also cap strapped as well. I mean, unless they can offer Kyle Turris to somebody, and I was okay. No.
That's funny, Kev. That's really good.
I tried, Graham. I tried. Let's touch on. There's a few other things going on here. The draft lottery is changing. I think to the benefit. I think Brian Burke is celebrating somewhere.
he loves screwing over the Canucks.
Yeah. For a guy that GM'd the Canucks and loves the Canucks, he sure likes to screw them over. But what are your thoughts? Is this a good thing?
Well, just to remind everyone what the changes are, the big one, and it gets implemented for this upcoming draft lottery, is that instead of there being 3 lotteries for the top 3 picks, there's only 2. So only the top 2 picks are lottery and for lottery now. So I don't know. I'm okay with it. I think there's been a lot of teams sort of quote unquote jumping the line, and the teams that have sucked are kind of getting screwed over. Like how many times have the Canucks gone 2-3 spots down the draft order? So I don't know. I think I'm more indifferent than anything else at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, the right call here. Switch things up a little bit and make sure that the crappier teams or the teams that don't do as well are able to kind of get back into it and get back sooner to more competitive team, I guess. And yeah, I just to me it makes sense. It really does. Chris?
Yeah, I have to generally agree. Like, I'm a fan of the change because obviously, ultimately, what they're trying to do is prevent a repeat of what happened with the Oilers around like the early 2010s. So like that's the intent. It's just a matter of figuring out how we actually make that work. I think that this change is a move in the right direction. We just have to make sure that it doesn't repeat.
Yeah, because the other 2 changes are starting in 2022. Maximum move up for lottery winner is limited to only 10 spots. So if you're one of you just missed the playoffs, you can't actually pick first overall. So we don't get a repeat of the Rangers.
Laughing at.
Yeah. And then no team can win the draft lottery more than twice in a 5-year period. The caveat with that is, from what I understand, though, is that they with that, if you finish last in for 2-3 years for 3-4 years in a row, you can still pick first overall all of those years. You just if another team wins the lottery but is high enough up in the standings that they don't actually get first overall.
I got to be honest. I like the chaos. I know that some people are screw some of the lower teams, but I like the chaos. You know what? I think I do. I actually think that I'm one that believes that just put all the balls in there, do one thing. Whoever gets first ball out is the first pick. Like,
and then you're gonna have a whole bunch of other slow motions of being like, oh, the Leafs almost did it. Oh, they didn't. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I think just people forget. It's not the first pick that wins the Stanley Cup. It's entire drafts.
And this is where I'm coming from, Kev.
I know.
Yusuf Alamaki, Dylan Dubé, you don't sell them off for one fucking player. It's about the drafts altogether. You have 3 draft picks within giving up the potential for Michael Stone. Is Michael Stone?
Mark Stone. If this was for Michael Stone, this trade conversation is ridiculous.
100% right. You're 100% right. I'm sorry. That's my bad. But if consecutively picking good players who are NHL players who make a difference.
Yeah. And can
are you on my side
agree
now?
With that?
Are you guys on my side now with this whole Michael Stone trade?
No.
Michael Stone?
No, because again, it's Mark Stone, first of all.
And even if we're talking about Mark Stone, I still don't agree with you.
What do you say about banners there, Jeff? They fly forever.
They do, but not one fucking player does it. You need a team that is willing and able to do that with that one person. That is amazing. And Isha, sorry, he's not second best player within this league. He's a great fucking player. But yeah, you need to have depth within your lineup to make sure that you can match up against the Stanley Cup contenders. And if you do that, then you'll win. But if you don't, I'm sorry, Draisaitl, McDavid, you're not good enough to win a Stanley Cup within this. That's right, Graham. I said it.
Fair enough. The last thing is, speaking of the Oilers, they've been hit by the postponements of the Montreal Canadiens as 2 players, Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Yoel Armia, have been diagnosed with COVID. Their games have been postponed to the 28th. Kudos to the NHL North. They're not having a game postponed up to this point, but I think we sort of knew that this was probably going to happen at some particular point in time, and here we are.
But the fact that this is the first one, whereas the American teams have had how many?
Yeah.
Just ask Dallas.
Hell, we were talking with Isha before, and Minnesota has not played St. Louis yet this season because of all of that. I think they made the right call, making sure everything, you don't actually spread it. You nip it in the butt and hope that they can come back. They can recover quickly and come back and not spread it. So I think this was the right decision, and we'll go from there, and hopefully the Canadians can open things back up and start playing by middle of next week.
Yeah, ask Buffalo if they agree with that, because for those of you who don't know, Buffalo was upset that they had to play New Jersey, and they questioned the NHL for not wanting to play New Jersey because of potential COVID risks. And ever since then, Buffalo has had a hard time winning, and because Ristolainen got involved with that and got diagnosed with COVID, and yeah, that's where the whole shit hit the fan, if you will. So I believe that it's better to err on the side of caution right now, and they made the right decision.
Yeah, it may extend when the playoffs start, but who knows about that? But I think we all, yeah, I agree. Better safe than sorry. We don't have to rush our way through this, and there's ways to fix this, so not a big deal. But we will leave it here. So some people have 20 minutes of rants. We'll save that. We will be back this weekend recapping. What, do you have something to say?
I got a lot of things to say, Kev, but we don't have time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're out of time.
Okay. We will be back on Sunday, 11 Pacific, 12 Mountain. The Canucks will have a week off. The Flames are playing the Jets. And I think that's probably the only North game. So we'll have some interesting things to talk about. I'm sure I'll come up with something. I'm a genius. How do we follow each other?
I am Beardy.
If you believe me, ask me. Beardy Connect 03. Sorry, say that again. I interrupted you.
I am Beardy Connect 03 on Twitter.
I am at Schneider on social media. Sorry, I'm not used to going in that order.
I'm Gordhouse09 on Twitter.
I am KVOLE. Tyler is TNOBLE. And Tyler's dad is probably going to fine you, Devin, for several fines. But, and of course, podcast_hockey, facebook.com, youtube.com. Subscribe where you get your podcasts. And as Isha says, as I pull this up as we close, love these guys. See, love us. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.